Shalom, Gedalia here. Doing my homework, the Midwest homework. Says that 10 to 15 minute video detailing how you came into the truth and why it's important to go out to the streets and spread the gospel. So I'll insert some scriptures and how I came into the truth. I can relate my experience with the scriptures. So, pretty much after my late 20s, I started questioning a lot of things. Like, say, for instance, just the whole idea of identity. I was kind of in a conflict. At first, it started kind of like saying, "Hey, I'm American. I'm not Mexican." It started basically coming to some kind of a conclusion, just based on the colonial concepts that we've been adopted to. So I really didn't have any further research aside from that I could conclude to, come to a different conclusion of what my identity is. So I was like, there's no way I can be Mexican if I'm not born in a geographical area called Mexico. Mexican is not a race, it's a geographical location. It's just like America. America's not a race, it's a geographical location. So, I had my moments where I was kind of like going against my people. Basically, that's, I started falling in the whole trap of the enemy. Separating us from our brothers, separating us from our true heritage, from our identity. So started going anti-Mexican and pretty much, anti my people, not Mexican, but anti-Purepecha, Mexica. And so as time went by, I started realizing that this thing goes a little deeper than that. Like, the thing is about bloodline. Like, who you are is you are of the seed of your father. You are the nation of your people, of your bloodline, not a nation of your geographical location. So as time went by, I started realizing the process of assimilation that went by in the Americas, how majority of my ancestors were forced to speak Spanish. They were forced to identify by their conqueror's identity, which was Hispanic, Spaniards from Spain, Europeans, Latino, Italians from Italy. So I started coming to the conclusion that, hey, we've been bamboozled, we've been tricked, and it's no wonder we can't recognize that we're brothers and we can't recognize who our enemies are. So as time went by, started going deeper into the indigenous people, into the original people of these lands, and pretty much looking at all the archaeological evidence that we were the majority of us were not just in one location. We were nomadic. I mean, like the Purepecha people, where my ancestors come from. They've been all the way from what today is called Peru, all the way through Central America and what today is called Mexico. Most of the so-called Mexican tribes, or like the Mexicas, Mixtecas, Tapotecas, like those tribes, they've been here in the United States. There's Georgia. There's ruins in Georgia, Mayan ruins in Georgia. There's ruins all the way up to Michigan. And also there's a correlation. I mean, there is a connection. I wouldn't say that we're the same people, but the word Michigan and Michoacan pretty much represent the same thing. So I started seeing my connection, and I started realizing, okay, now I understand who my people are. And so it was kind of like I escaped from a lot of lies. And most people think, most people, so brainwashed that they started advising me that this stuff doesn't matter. I was like, if it doesn't matter, then why did a certain group of people put in so much effort into pushing these lies? I mean, if they're not important, if it doesn't matter, why would they go through all the trouble of creating schools. They would separate the indigenous children from their parents to brainwash them, to make them believe these lies if they're not that important, if it doesn't matter. Obviously, there's a reason, a psychological reason. They wanted us to assimilate to a system and pretty much let bygones be bygones and join hands with the enemy. Not look at the enemy as an enemy anymore. So and even further during doing more research, looking running into ISUPK. ISUPK were the first ones. All praises to the Most High. There were some scriptures that were bringing out prophecies about that our people went through, and I mean, at first it came to me kind of as an insult. I was just like, man, I want to meet this group, man. Like, I want to, not only do I want to embarrass them, but once I embarrass them, like, I want them to leave our people's names out of their mouth. To stop saying that the indigenous people are Israelites. So I went to Chicago, went to one of the ISUPK school classes that they had at a library, and I brought out a few things, what I assumed was, basically proving that we're not Israelites. But I didn't go too deep, or didn't really argue with them too much, because I did feel the love. I did feel like, I was like, kind of like, I don't really feel like arguing with these people. Like, they're talking good about our people. I mean, a lot of stuff they say is true about our oppression and shit. So, kind of left it as that, and then eventually, as I started watching more videos, I came to the conclusion that black people are Israelites. That was the first conclusion that I came to. Black people are, like, the African Americans, the ones that came on slave ships. Those are the real Israelites. Those are the actual Jews. But I wasn't entirely convinced that my people, that the indigenous people, were the house of Israel. So I did kind of get into the scriptures to debate with pastors, Christians, and show them scriptures where it shows that, Jesus was a woolly-haired man, and, skin like brass if it burned in the furnace, whatever. Also, how the apostles and prophets were called Niger, nigger, so black. So, but as time went by and I started like watching videos, especially mostly afterwards by Sakari, kind of like pinpointing towards the Northern Kingdom and proving that we're the Northern Kingdom, and then kind of like actually looking at artifacts like the Luna Stone in New Mexico, the Chief Joseph Stone or tablet that's in the West Point Museum in New York. See what else? The Ohio Decalogue, and also kind of like, kind of relating the regalia, the traditional clothing of the majority of indigenous people. I would say probably like an overwhelming majority. And then, pretty much looking at some of the behavior, the customs, and how the scripture depicts Israel. Then I kind of came to the understanding and the truth that the real nation of Israel is the so-called blacks and the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere. And so I pretty much had no choice but I was seeking the truth. I mean, even when I came to the understanding of who we, the so-called Hispanic and Latino are in history, I couldn't back out. Even though it meant losing a lot of friends and having a lot of issues and certain, especially in work areas, because I just wouldn't assimilate, because I wouldn't conform to the lies that we've been pushed and perpetuated. Um, I just couldn't back down. It was just the truth. It just doesn't make any sense to find out the truth and just go with a lie. Just knowingly follow a lie because everybody else is following a lie. Like, it just doesn't make any sense at all. But so the same thing happened with the scripture. So once I found out that that there was scriptures relating our people back to being the prophets, and also how the scriptures does not talk about God saving everyone, God loving everyone. It talks about God saving a certain group of people, and specifically from you know who. So it just really made sense. It became reality. It was like, this just connected with my spirit. This was exactly the same conclusion I already had came up to, but now it was narrated and put into correct context of the scriptures. So that's basically how I came into the truth. And I think one of the strongest reasons is it's in the New Testament. When Christ says that that the truth, okay, it says in John 8:32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So since I pretty much after my pretty much at the beginning of my 30s, ending of my 20s, I was seeking out the truth. I wanted to know a lot of answers of why things were so confusing. Like, why are we called Europeans when we're not? We don't even look European. Why are they calling us Hispanics and Latinos? Like, I just couldn't leave it alone. I had to figure out why we're branded as Europeans when we're not. And so once I started coming into the truth of who we were, and our bloodline is just it's just a path that kept on going towards trying to find out more truth, and I couldn't let go of the truth. And eventually, if you really want to seek out the truth, it's going to lead you to the scriptures that the true chosen people today are known as Hispanic, Latinos, and blacks, Hispanic, and Latinos of Indian descent. So that really kind of hits me hard, John 8:32. And also the says that says in I'm trying to look for the scripture where it says that when the sheep hear his voice, I think it's in the book of John. It's I'm tired right now. I'm trying to think of where the scripture is. Okay, John 10, start verse 25. Says, Jesus answered them, I told you, and ye believe not. The works that I do of my Father, they bear witness of me. But ye believe not, because ye are not my sheep. As I said unto you, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. So, I mean, that was Yahushua speaking, and the scripture says that Yahushua was the Word. So when the Word was spoken in truth, I was drawn to it. The reality of who we are. And yeah, so now why do I think it's important to hit the streets and go out in the streets and spread the gospel? Uh, well, for one, according to scriptures, we're not going to get out of this captivity unless we bring our people back to the fold, to the understanding of who they are, so they can start keeping the commandments. Well, that's one reason. So we can get out of this predicament. According to the book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 70. Says, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, to perform his mercies and promised to our fathers, and remember his holy covenant, the oath that he swore to our father Abraham, that he would grant us that, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, holiness, righteousness before him all the days of our life. So, yeah, there's no other way around it. This captivity is only going to go away. It's only going to be dealt with once we come back to our statutes and commandments. Once we come back to the understanding that we are the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we are the chosen ones. And we are not meant to be the tail of these people. We're meant to be the head, and that's part of it. Also, one of the motivations that I get is retribution. According to scriptures, it says one of my favorite ones from the book of Psalms is Psalms, I want to say 137, starting from verse 7 all the way to 9. It says, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who saith, Jerusalem be in us. Raise it, even to the foundation thereof, O daughter of Babylon, who art thou to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth the little ones against the stones. So the scripture says that once our day comes, we're gonna repay them. we're gonna dash the little children to pieces. I mean, it's just gonna go back to God's judgment. Whatever they done to us is just gonna happen to them, doublefold. And so yeah, that's part of the motivation, just the reward of knowing that there's been justice for our people. It's not necessarily just the hatred, kind of like, oh, I want to go and just harm somebody for no damn reason. No, I want justice done for what has happened to our people, what's happened for the last 500 years. And so yeah, that concludes pretty much my video, because I'm past 15 minutes.